I do kind of think it kind of feels like when you're watching it, it's almost as if when Bob Dylan like sees Billy the Kid, he's inspired by him.
He's just singing it.
Yeah, he's singing
Yeah.
it. It's almost as if like his character just wrote those songs after the events of the movie.
It also kind of reminded me of a Quentin Tarantino like cameo that he has in all of his films. It's pretty funny.
He wasn't the director, but yeah, the guy who wrote the music.
Yeah.
But what I was saying, Pat Garrett is the epitome of whatever the word is, big word of
what's his name?
Pat Garrett. It's you die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Isn't that from Batman?
Yeah. Nah, that's a pretty famous quote. There's no way
Yeah,
Batman invented that. They probably used that, but what I'm saying is when they played the badge, like
it isn't Batman, though, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. I feel like that's just him. Like he overstayed his time on Earth. I feel like, and even though he lived, I just think that was showing that Pat Garrett would have been better off dying like Billy the Kid at his age and maintain his legacy, his character,
his street cred.
Yeah, we'll just maintain. I mean,
his street cred.
Maintain like everyone knows Billy the Kid, and like that's a pretty famous like legend, I think.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know they were real people.
Yeah, well,
I did know Billy the Kid was
Billy
a
the
real
Kid.
person.
You've definitely heard that name before.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Pat Garrett.
Like
no one knows Pat Garrett. Everyone knows Billy the Kid. You don't know him. You don't count though, because you're
but simpleton.
Yeah.
Didn't play Red Dead.
I actually didn't. I won't lie.
Great
I just don't think you like westerns because I think that.
Oh, I'm like a big fan of them.
I just think that was a very.
Like,
I think another difference between the two characters is that, in the final scene when Pat Garrett shoots Billy the Kid, like I feel like he kind of knows that they're gonna come to his house or where he's staying the next day, and he just kind of goes out. He goes out doing his thing. He sleeps with that lady. He kind of that's how they do in the movie, but like he knows. I don't know.
Food.
He just lives his life. He kind of goes with the flow.
Fair.
Pat Garrett kills him and probably lives the rest of his life in like dread. I don't know, and he regretted it. And Pat Garrett regretted after he killed him.
You know what's really interesting is that they made another.
He knew he did. Pat Garrett knew what he did was wrong.
Do you?
Fair.
Oh wait, go ahead.
They made another movie in 2013 called Billy the Kid.
Oh yeah,
Or a different director though.
Yeah, he's a pretty famous character in the American
I wonder if that.
zeitgeist.
Yeah, let's get it. The zeitgeist is back.
But poo. I forgot what I was gonna say.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think like I like the newer westerns, dude. The old ones are generally just like
Yeah, I know what you're
I
saying.
mean,
Lots of
Django
guns.
Unchained's amazing.
yeah. Hateful is great.
Hateful Eight. Is Tarantino the only one that still makes westerns?
No, it was the Coen
That's a good
brothers.
question.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, that's also a really good
Buster Scruggs was
movie.
yeah.
There Will Be Blood's kind of a western.
No Country
Yeah.
for Old Men was like a modern western.
Yeah.
Right. I see there's some good ones. I mean, dude, this one just like
I don't know.
it followed the same 3 points. I just feel like it could have been a lot shorter. It did not need to be almost 2 hours long. And for some reason while watching it, it just felt like it was 4 hours long. And I think it was because they just repeated the same scenes like over and over again, in my opinion.
There were a lot of moments that had like the same vibe.
Yeah.
Right. Well, honestly, it might have just been the fact where, like, the 3 times they played Knocking on Heaven's Door, it felt like, I was like, oh, this is like a closing.
Right. Yeah. I
Then
also
I was like, oh, but there's another hour and a half.
but wait, there's more.
Yeah, it was. Going back to the prostitutes, it is funny how in the West, no one really cared. I feel like everyone died so young in the West.
Yeah.
Like dysentery and all these diseases, the Oregon Trail, everyone just died. That like, they just like, screw it. I'm going to get the chlamydia, no, gonorrhea and syphilis were the 2 big diseases.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I feel like all over the place there.
You know what? I will say in one
Not a
good
lot
tone,
of testing sites.
Yeah.
it did
condoms
show
either,
how
I
wild
think.
the West was back then, I will
Yeah.
say. It did highlight that, for sure.
Yeah.
So I will give it credit in that respect.
Blew Spring Break out of the water.
Definitely.
The Wild West. you
Those
kidding
boys
me?
were wildin',
Yeah.
for sure.
Also, I always hear it like the Wild West is always exaggerated in American culture.
Yeah.
And the fact that this was a real story kind of made me like feel like, oh, that's like sick. I think it's really cool that we have our own, like just our. I mean, he's like kind of like not the Robin Hood, but he's a famous American villain, That's like sick. He's a
Pat
cool.
Garrett.
No, Billy,
Billy
the Kid. I mean, it's obviously a bad person, but it's intriguing.
Anti-hero.
He's very intriguing.
Yeah.
Like he's the stereotypical gunslinger.
How many people did he actually kill in real life?
I saw a couple numbers. Like somewhere says 8, somewhere says 21, but along those lines.
From 8 to 21 bodies.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good KD
I mean, so
ratio.
let me present this question. It
guess.
seems like you kind of had to be good with a gun back then. And it seems like killing was just like a normal part of life in the West from the way that the movie describes living in the Wild West. What would you guys do
Those
if you were there? It's like not like being one of them, but like if you were just living in that time period, how would you go about your life and what would you make your life? Would you be like a rancher? Would you like,
You know who I'd be?
Yeah.
I'd be Pete. The owner of the house that Billy gets killed in. Remember when he goes in with the girl and he's like, "Hey, Pete, you mind if we use one of your extra beds?" And then he just starts telling the story, and he keeps like talking, and Billy's just like, "Okay," and he smiles and walks away, and the old guy keeps on talking. I was watching. I was like, "Yeah, that's me."
I can see that being you. I can see that being you for sure. What about you, Andrew?
So, I would definitely be a gunslinger. And
Okay.
going off your question, I want to answer your question first, and I have another question kind of similar to your question.
Okay.
So what would you do in the West?
What I do in the West? Think that I would be a gunslinger too. I think you kind of have to be, right?
I feel like that's like my number one like movie criminal thing. And here's like I just have because like I feel like the West.
You know what I would do?
is so beautiful.
I'd be like one of those train robbers. That's what I'd be.
Yeah, be a gunslinger. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It's a classic American like villain. So my question is, you know, like the typical criminals in movies that are kind of romanticized.
Yeah.
Gunslinger, pirate,
Bank robbers from like the 20s.
so
Yeah.
mobsters,
Yeah,
gunslingers,
mobsters.
pirates. Any other one maybe? Those are my top 3. What would you rather be? Like mafia is pretty sick. Like the whole culture about that,
Right.
like Goodfellas culture.
So I would say honestly, I think mafia like
Aliens.
Aren't villains though.
I agree with you with being
They are
sick,
friends.
but I don't know. I mean, because if you look at Goodfellas, that end scene with Ray Liotta when it's like all going to shit, like that just did not seem like it would be it. Like,
No, don't talk too much about it. Those.
yeah,
Best
but
movie of all time.
gunslingers, like at least their end was quick. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't like you had to face jail time. Really, it was like either you're dead or you're alive type deal. So I think I'd either
Or
send
you get hanged.
hanged. That's
Ooh.
still a quick death, you know.
Also, but the West,
Sometimes.
it
Or
is
not.
easy to escape jail in the West. I
Sometimes
feel
not.
like,
huh?
as shown in this Western, it is easy to escape jail.
Yeah,
Do
it
you
also
guys
seems like it's
remember-
just kind of like a playpen you're stuck in for a little bit until
Do you guys
find a way
remember?
out.
Yeah, they were playing cards, and also, like in the town, there were like kids playing on the gallows.
Yeah,
They were just like swinging from the rope.
yeah. There was some kid
Like-
hanging from the noose that
Yeah.
was just like that was that was
He was
wild.
just swinging. I was like, Jesus, like that. Back in the day, that was like normal too.
Right? It's their the olden swing before swings were
The
invented.
town would get together to watch a hanging.
It'd be crazy.
All right, wait, hold up though. So this kind of brings up another question for me. So you know how like hanging was legal back then, and like you could publicly hang someone.
That they did.
So you know like public shaming when they had the
Shame.
like stocks things that they put people's heads in.
Shame.
Yeah, it is sick.
Do you think they should bring that back?
Yeah, that'd be good. Kind of a funny concept, but again, you don't want you don't want civilization to be just some like you want the government and the federal agents to have like morals. You can't just torture someone. Like
It's a bit cruel and
we
unusual.
live in a society.
We do live in a society. This is true.
We could give them like a 5-minute break every hour.
Yeah.
Fair. You know, it'd be like a 9 to 5. They go into the I forget what it's called. The freaking thingy.
You know what we should do? If anyone ever does like a petty crime, or they rob or anything stupid, they should just like make them listen to this podcast.
That's facts.
That
That's
would be
torture
a
enough.
wonderful punishment.
Yeah. Benefits both of them. Well, benefits us
Benefits
and
us.
society because people.
Oh, for sure.
Not the person listening.
Yeah.
Definitely not them.
It's called the pillory. We should stick someone in the pillory,
The pillory.
and they should just have headphones inserted into their ears, and it's
Yeah.
just our podcast on repeat
Yeah.
for a week straight.
Yeah.
Please, no.
Oh
Make
my
it
God.
stop.
I'll never rob that store again. I swear.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's not the worst thing because you could either spend your time in prison and then get your like self involved in like worse shit in prison to like survive prison, or it could just be stuck in a pillory for like 2 weeks. Get a little vegetable stand set up next to it where people can just come by, grab a tomato or two, and whip them at you.
Yeah,
and be all about their day. I think that'd be pretty interesting. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Pretty funny.
All right. Probably I'll bring it up with the city
maybe
council.
We should test you in it first just to see.
Okay, I'll do a day in there
for sure.
Yeah, but to get back into the movie, the whole interesting dynamic between like the investigator and the criminal or whatever, like the relationship. It's kind of a cat and mouse thing between Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Yeah,
and I think it's interesting that like it's not all business for them because I think I was watching a movie. It was called a documentary on Netflix called New York City versus the Mafia, or Fear City, New York versus the Mafia, and the people who were chasing or searching after the mob members, like listening into their phone calls and everything like that, they kind of develop like a friendship with these people they're chasing after, and to the point where it like kind of hurt them.
Batman and the Joker-esque.
Yeah,
respect.
It all comes back to the Dark Knight.
No, it hurts. It hurts them to kind of put them their friends. They're not their friends, but they listen to their voices so much that's like, oh, I kind of like this person. I have like
Yeah,
and you get to know them.
It's about the chase.
Yeah, and it's kind of how this movie is a little bit.
And
with
I feel
Pat
like
Garrett. That's why he's so hurt at the end. Go on.
A lot of times, the greatest criminals were some of the most charismatic people of all time.
For sure. That's how they got away with it a lot of times, especially back in the West. I feel like everyone knew who they were. It was just that they were like, they kind of vibed with them. They're like, all right, he hasn't killed me yet. He's pretty cool. Do you
think it was easier or harder to gain notoriety back then?
For what?
Just, like for just a lot of people to know your name.
I think it was harder. And you know what's funny? I think like killing of people as like a gunslinger.
More people died.
I think everyone did that. And so like I don't think gunslingers. I think gunslingers were a bigger job than they're made out to be in the movies. Like, I don't think it was just this like small group of people. I feel like most Western people did that. Maybe
probably more.
You think in the real Wild West that there was just like a lot of people going around killing each other?
I've heard crime was exaggerated a little bit, but
I don't think it was that wild.
Yeah, that's why I like this movie because this was a true story and it was wild. But I think for the majority of the Wild West, it wasn't too wild because there was still there were police forces and sheriffs,
and there were outlaws.
But it's also a lot easier to get away with crime back then.
Oh, for sure. If you kill someone, go like 2 towns over,
and you're
start
good.
a whole family. Just like
actual cowboys were just like ranch hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the term gunslinger better than cowboy because cowboy just sounds stupid. Yeah, going off your point earlier about how this movie like doesn't like age well or something. Like new westerns are better than this older westerns. Mm-hmm. I definitely noticed that in all the westerns I've seen that they definitely do seem older than other kind of movies. Like the movie we watched a couple times ago, Rebel Without a Cause.
Yep.
Definitely didn't seem much older than this movie, even though it came out 20 years earlier. Like Rebel Without a Cause came out in 1955. This came out in 1973.
Well, I feel like Rebel Without a Cause is kind of relatable to now a little bit more.
Yeah, but also just the camera style, the audio. I think it's probably used like worse equipment for westerns or something.
Yeah,
could be just.
Also, weren't westerns like the first movies ever made?
No,
there was
first movie ever made.
Well, silent films, obviously, but after the silent film era, I'm pretty sure like we started.
I was
with
about
westerns.
to cite the video of the moving train.
Oh, okay.
The Great Train Robbery. That was 1903, I think. It was like 10 minutes long, silent film.
Yeah,
might have been one of the first full like long movies at 10 minutes long. Which is not long, but like
it's kind of cool too how the music that accompanies films changes.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie was a very how'd this do in the box office? I don't think it was a very popular movie.
When you look it up,
they definitely didn't have a lot of budget.
When you look up like the movie's name, it's like insanely hard to actually find the movie online.
Yeah, like
you have to type in movie afterwards. You can't just type in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Like Bob Dylan, obviously, is one of the most famous singers of all time, musicians. But like, how big was the market for a Bob Dylan Western?
Well, you know what's crazy? It gets like crazy good reviews on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes.
was
I thought
actually-
it was good. I thought the themes were pretty
86